Welcome to the Integrated Rehab and Performance Podcast. Today I have Matthew Bergman, TopGolf, Director of Instruction there, right, at TopGolf. Some interesting background that I want to get into with you, Matthew, and some of your teaching philosophy and different things like that. So I just want to say thanks for coming on the podcast and chatting golf and talking about Nashville golf. So
Yeah,
with
thanks for having me.
that being said, of course, tell me a little bit more about your background, how you got to Nashville, how you got to TopGolf, and kind of part of your teaching philosophy.
Yeah. Um, Quick overview. I guess I'll kind of start with how I got into golf. I was playing like all sports growing up, and my mom happened to move to like a golf course community. I'm from Connecticut, Avon, Connecticut, and the golf course was $500 a year. So back when golf was affordable at a private country club for under 18,
Wow.
only $500, unlimited golf, unlimited driving range, able to join the men's club. So it was really cool to be able to do that. And I really didn't play golf kind of up until that, messed around with friends during the summer. And I was like 12, 13 years old. So joined the golf course and then just got fully addicted. I'm a highly competitive person, and golf kind of was like a really good outlet for that. And my ADHD brain to be able to be doing something 24/7 is kind of why I love golf. There's always something going on. So did that. And then, fast forward to like graduating high school, I didn't know really what I wanted to do in my career, but I knew I loved golf. Had played on the high school team, was on varsity for my freshman year on, um, and could have played kind of at some D3 schools around the New England area, and knew I didn't really want to be at those schools for that, and still wanted to be in golf. So the professional golf management program caught my eye. There's 16 schools that are accredited by the PGA of America. So I was looking at all those schools and ended up going to Coastal Carolina in Myrtle Beach, and did professional golf management there. So did like the business marketing program, and then did my golf classes. So graduated with my Class A PGA, and I did internships throughout there. So did the first three of them. One at the course at Coastal Carolina, and then at a nice public course in Connecticut, and then a nice private club in Charlotte, North Carolina. And then Top Golf opened my senior year in Myrtle Beach, and I thought it was cool, something different in golf. Really loved what they were doing to kind of change the game of golf and open it up to a lot more people. Um, so I did my 7 month internship at Topgolf in Myrtle, and did kind of a full scope of working with the events team there, the management team, and obviously the director of instruction out in Myrtle Beach, a guy named Billy Belair, who's a really good player. And did that. And at the end of that internship, they offered me a job in Miami, Atlanta, and Nashville. Miami sounded great,
Wow.
but I could barely trust myself in Nashville with the scene here. So I didn't think I could trust myself in Miami, even though it sounded really beautiful and awesome. So I chose Music City in Nashville, and have been here since December of 2019.
Wow. Yeah. Very cool. So you had some options and
Yeah.
you chose Nashville just like kind of everyone else, right? The rest of the
Yeah.
world. So cool. You've been here since 2019. Now, what is it like to be working in that kind of in that regard at Topgolf? So teaching, what does it look like? What tools do you have access to? What are maybe some advantages of being
Yeah.
at Topgolf when you're working with students?
It's really cool because it's kind of a wide range of things going on, right? I knew I didn't really want to be like an assistant pro at a golf course and kind of folding t-shirts and stuff in the shop and then doing teaching on my off time. So it gave me an opportunity to teach golf right off the bat, being a director of instruction, which usually in the golf world is kind of hard when you're so young. Usually it takes kind of a little bit of time to move on to that. So that was the first thing that drew me in there. But I do corporate events there. I do the individual lessons, and then some like junior camps is kind of my scope of my job there. So we have Top Tracer for the capabilities. I work now with a company called Golf Live. I don't know if you're familiar with them. They're kind of a newer company coming out, which is like an on form. If you've heard an on form before.
Ah, yep. Gotcha.
So that's what we use for drawing all of our lines and doing all that. I use in between. I used to use a flight scope when Topgolf had given me a flight scope to use for teaching capabilities. I use like a nicer Garmin one now for path. Um, and my students, wide range. I really started off with mainly all beginners because that's what Top Golf draws in. So there's a lot of people where honestly the face and path it matters, but it didn't really matter as much to them because that's kind of like information overload for some people in the beginning stage. So it was cool that Topgolf just had the top tracer in the beginning, which gives you all ball data, so not club data. So it gives
Mm.
how far the ball is carrying, your ball speed, your height, the curve that's going. So that's really great for kids and beginners to be like, hey, you hit that first shot, it went 30 feet of curve to the right. You had an apex height of 55 feet and ball speed of 77 miles an hour. And I usually explain to them, we want to see the height, ball speed, and carry go up together. We don't want to, see one number be really high because a lot of people right off the bat are like, I want a lot of ball speed. I'm like, ball speed's great, but you could have 150 miles an hour of ball speed with 5 yards of carry, right? So we want those numbers to kind of all go up. So it's a great kind of intro with Top Tracer on what data kind of means and how that correlates to the ball, especially with kids because they hit a good shot, they're going to get excited right away, but to give them the correlation with, okay, you just hit a good shot, but it went 40 feet high. Why did that ball go 40 feet high? Because you hit it off the center of the club, kind of giving them that data in a fun way, especially with the games that we have at Top Golf.
Oh yeah.
Kind of kind of cool fact that not a lot of people know about Top Golf is what Top Golf, the acronym is actually an acronym, and it stands for Target Oriented Practice Golf.
Mm.
So I think that's pretty cool. Being the golf pro there, not a lot of other people care about it. They just think about going to Top Golf and thinking drinking and
Fair.
fun and food. But to the golf pro, Top Golf kind of started at the core as a driving range with targets that you could drink beer at. Was how the guys who created it. So having the kids
Smart.
being able to go out there and hit shots and be able to play a game while they do it is a lot more enticing, even for adults that are just getting into the game. And I have students that don't even want to play on the golf course, to be honest. They just want to play golf. They started going to Top Golf and really enjoyed it, and they said, let me get better at Top Golf in general. And then, my goal from that is to get them onto the golf course eventually and be like, hey, I know you really love Top Golf, but wouldn't it be cool if we went out and played golf together too and got you playing on the course? So that answer that
Smart.
question.
Yeah. Now, I'm curious when it comes to some of your older students, right? Some adults. I'm sure you can spend some time really focusing on that as well. Ball flight, right? Height
Hmm.
versus carry. What are you noticing in like club golfers that come and work with you in terms of maybe they know they've got a slice or they'll hook the ball and we want to work on club path and all that. But are you seeing consistent, even ball flight, like height in the ball, landing zone, different things like that? Is this something that you can work on with older golfers that you find yields good results? Is just saying, can we find a shot shape, but in terms of even just how high the ball is going, that'll be more effective for you?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's, definitely just knowing. A big question I get all the time is how high should this go? How far should this
Yeah.
go? Right? From people that are playing and they'll say, well, you hit your 7 iron 170. Should I hit my 7 iron 170? How far the guys on tour hit it, right? Um, and kind of the answer I always give to people, it really doesn't matter. That's such a loaded question to ask. Um, so I say we want to know how far you're going to hit it on the shot you're trying to hit and how high you're trying to hit it on the shot you're trying to hit and the curve you're trying to hit on that shot, right? So there's no really, one shot fits all. So definitely that's what I work on with all my adult students and better players that I work with is okay, we're going to try to hit the shot that you're trying to hit. especially with the better players when you get to, kids that are trying to play in high school or try to play in college or a high ranking amateur. I have a few students that are trying to play in like the USAM and stuff like that. So we know they already have a good swing, right? And the lesson is not the same as someone who has never played golf before and we're trying to build their swing. It's more so we're trying to work on specific situations and get them ready for shot ready. So let's try to hit this shot 70 feet high with 165 yards of carry with 20 feet of curve from right to left and have that feel in your back pocket of what that's creating.
Yeah. Now with your older students, club golfers, different things like that, where do you start the process with them when you get a new golfer in? What have you found, or maybe how have things evolved over the years where you've decided the best thing I can do to get as much information efficiently to know where to start is doing this test or this or that? What is kind of your like initiation process for really understanding the golfer
Yeah.
in front of you?
So kind of right when I get someone in, it's probably similar to you, kind of, going over like, just a little questionnaire of, what brought you in here today? Um, what is your goals, right? I'm trying to break that down, depending on where they are in their game. Especially if I've never met the person before that just kind of signed up online. Um, and then working from there. And once I get them swinging, it's, let's watch you swing, especially if they have played before, and let me get you on video from the few different angles from the back, from face on, and see where their swing is at, and then build it to their goals from there usually. And definitely asking as well as I've learned more about the fitness and things and being comfortable kind of saying what I should say is asking, do you have any physical limitations right off the bat? Um, and making sure we're kind of on the same page before we even get into it, because I don't want to one offend them or to do something that they can't do right off the bat, and we can tailor their swing to that.
Smart. I think folks are really starting to appreciate that these days. Is what is the body physically capable of? I mean, some folks they've been through a lot. Some people they have a history of surgeries, history of injuries that maybe they've rehabbed or not fully rehabbed, and you would just be surprised at what you have in front of you truly when you start looking at just pure physical capacity. Can we move into these positions or not? And then you get to go into, can we create speed from these positions consistently? And usually the answer is no. And so one of my favorite things to do again is take the body, look at it through the lens of the golf swing. What do we have access to? What don't we? What are you working on? And how might some of these physical restrictions be playing a role? What is this pain that keeps coming back? What is happening in the golf swing? How are these things connected to that physical limitation? And things like that. So good that you're trying to understand from their perspective what they have access to, and kind of what are maybe some limitations, and then you kind of know how to work through it or work around it. What are you noticing? What are people saying most often when you ask, do you have any limitations? What do you feel? Pain, anything like that? Is there any one spot of mobility that you notice most golfers, or is most coming up that they're
Yeah.
missing or limited in, or is there a spot of pain?
I mean, the most common from people that are a little bit older, later 30s, 40s, 50s, getting into that age, that have played golf a while, or even just getting into it, is the back pain. A lot of people have had rotator cuff surgery. Shoulder back kind of issues are the main things for sure. And then
Yeah,
and then I have had a lot of, not a lot, but I have had multiple students, with artificial leg before, or the artificial arm. So kind of working with that, I have done in the past quite a few times. So
yeah, that's a an interesting, unique situation to work through, I'd imagine.
yeah.
I'd agree. Same thing on my end. Low back pain and shoulder pain, right? Lots of low back surgeries, lots of shoulder surgeries, lots of recurring shoulder pain comes and goes, low back pain comes and goes, or just stays. Some folks have been dealing with for over a decade, that I've dealt with. And then same thing, golf season, kind of consistent pain that comes if they try to play or practice too much. Um, and we've even directly seen how their swing changes when it's present and when it's not present. The discomfort, whether it's at the shoulder, knee, low back, wherever it might be. And so one of my favorite things to do again is working with the pros and whoever they're working with and showing them how, hey, right now things are moving really well. The pain is minimal or non-existent. That was a great time to get them in and prove some new thought patterns and feels, right? Because things are moving so well, and then we can kind of get best bang for your buck at that time. Um, so yeah, I'd agree. Low back and shoulder, those definitely the top two here in Nashville golf. What
Yeah.
what are you noticing in terms of your philosophy if it's changed over the years? Do you think that when you were there in 2019 versus here 2025, is there any one thing or big thing that you were focused on then that maybe you're not so much anymore, or is there something new that
Yeah.
you're really focused on?
I think, yeah, I mean, totally, definitely different philosophy. I feel bad for some of the people I was teaching in the beginning, especially
For
when
sure.
I remember when I was interning in like 2017, one of the first lessons, paid lessons that I gave, I basically had the guy try to hit the mat until he could hit the mat. So that was probably the worst lesson I ever gave in my life. And I would love to find that guy's contact information and apologize to him. Um, but yeah, overall, I mean, changed the philosophy. I was actually talking to a guy in corporate at Topgolf yesterday. Asked me this same question, um, and it's definitely less is more, to be honest. Where and even when I've had some lessons from some better, top 100 teachers in my life, kind of going in there expecting them to say all these, crazy terminologies and all these weird things, right? Um, and it's basically been just very kind of simple stuff that everyone can understand, and being able to hold my tongue and stop saying and just shut up for a little bit, to be honest. Like, I want to say so much, and I've learned over time that I need to stop and
Mm,
keep it as short and sweet as possible sometimes, and that's better than trying to say everything across the moon that comes across my brain, and doing it in an order that they can think. I think is the biggest thing. I'm not a teacher that has one swing philosophy. I'm not a method teacher, where some people, are stack and tilt or, release type teacher. I'm really a guy who's gonna watch their swing with their goals and try to make them the best player they can be with what their goals are.
that's
But yeah,
fantastic.
keeping it short.
It's the same thing in my world too, in the rehab side. We work through a lot of motor control and even pattern stuff, and it can be difficult, some of the movements especially that we try to work through, because we're trying to work through layers and layers and layers of compensations and decades of these compensations. So folks that really want to hike their pelvis, if we're trying to turn into that side or create extension at that hip on that side, and it's like the hip doesn't do anything and it's all this low back and the muscles around the low back, when we put them in positions, we try to task them to, once we've kind of worked on some mobility and worked through some of the stuff, to get them to actually use the right muscles again. It takes so much brain power sometimes for them, and to describe it just almost never works. We just have to put them in a position for them to feel it, and we have better success that way. But even then, it takes some time when we start opening up space to actually change some of these patterns and the way that their brain thinks about moving some of these joints, especially if there's been a history of injury way in
Oop.
the past, or surgery that's been relatively recent. The brain and body will go to lengths to kind of protect different tissue and not move through joints that it doesn't think it should or wants to move through. And yeah, you're going to get all sorts of, I want you to do this, and they'll go a million different ways of accomplishing that isn't actually accomplishing what you want them to do. So yeah, a lot of times the best thing to do is just put them in certain positions, say move this here, and then make it so that they can't compensate, and then you can build on that there. But it's always a fun kind of part of the process
Yeah.
there when you're working through that. And I imagine, yeah, it's got to be the same thing for you.
I think there's kind of a confidence, piece to the younger I was. I kind of let sometimes what one of the quotes I've heard from better pros is, don't let the lesson almost get taken over by the student, right? um you got to remember that you're the coach or you're the trainer in there. And I've learned that over time where they've, been like, I don't think that's the right thing, or this isn't working yet. Like, and I'm like, well, we're, about 25 minutes into our first lesson. So if I could fix you in 25 minutes, I'd be charging a lot more than $110 an hour. Right. So kind of just making sure they're trusting the process and not doubting myself when I know that's the right thing to do, and don't let them, deter me from making their swing better by them not believing in it at first.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. Yep. Similar here. What are you noticing personally in your own golf game? What are some things that you've had to work on? And is the process different when you're trying to improve your own feels and your own faults and different things like that?
Um, my biggest issue in my I had ankle surgery myself, back in 2018, full ankle surgery, got 7 screws in my ankle, from a, bad little fall. Um, So ever since then, my kind of early extension has gotten way worse, and I kind of take over by getting really long in my backswing from not having all that stability on my right side. So that's something I work through on my golf swing. And I think a big thing for me is not letting video fully control my swing, because I know I can hit the ball really good, and focusing on kind of the smaller things like I said I work on with students is a big thing in my own game, not getting, going down the rabbit hole of trying to make the swing look perfect. Because there's plenty of golfers on the PGA Tour that have had, longer backswings in their career, John Daly being, one of the biggest ones. So not letting it fully take over, but I work on my game all the time, and working on my early extension, my posture, my grip, is something I work on a lot. So same stuff I work on with better students, and I still take golf lessons myself. I work on my game by myself, but it's hard to, fully do it by yourself sometimes. So I seek out help myself. In your world of the fitness and in golf.
Yep. Yeah, smart. And I'm similar. When injury or pain creeps up, I'm my own worst patient. I should be able to help myself, but I it's hard for me to to spend the time doing the things that I need to do, especially when you're just busy. So I'm my own worst patient, and maybe same idea with you is it's good just to have someone else look at you, come up with their insights and thoughts, and then you guys can talk through that process as well. Um, Good that you're getting some instruction. Do you use some folks there at Top Golf? You guys kind of help each other?
Um, yeah, so my buddies at different venues, but I go to some pros here in town, and
Good.
utilize some people I trust around here.
Smart. Yeah, you
Yeah,
guys all help each other out. It'll be good.
yeah.
Um, I got to say, what does it take, or how does someone get in touch with you directly and start the process of working with you?
Um, Easiest way is going to my Instagram, I guess, to message me, or going on Top Golf's website. You can book directly from Top Golf to get on there, and do that through there. They have my schedule loaded up on there.
Perfect. And I have to ask you, as a Nashville local, what are some courses around here that you really enjoy playing? What are some types of games at Top Golf, target oriented practice, that you really enjoy and find useful? And then I have to ask, what's the hardest hole here in Nashville that you played or heard about?
Yeah. My favorite courses, or courses I frequent, I'm lucky to live kind of about 50 yards from the first tee of Presidents on Hermitage. So I frequent over there a lot. There, and Old Hickory Country Club is gracious enough to let me play out there a lot. And Tennessee Grasslands is slowly becoming my favorite place to go, especially with their new clubhouse they just finished. So shout out to them. I think
Yeah.
that's the best deal in Nashville right now if you're looking to join a private club, and I would join it fast, to be honest.
Yep.
And
Same.
obviously all the metro courses. I love going out there. When I first lived in Nashville, I was an East Nashville guy. So I played a lot at Shelby and Vinnie Links. I still love going to Vinnie Links and think that's like the most underrated place in Nashville, especially for beginners. Hardest hole was probably the next one.
Yes.
That I would have to say hardest and probably I don't want to say dumbest design of a hole, but the first hole at Nashville Golf and Athletic Club. Are you familiar with that hole?
That's the
Dude,
most
I'm
common
not a
answer.
fan. Yeah, I'm not a fan whatsoever. I think it's a weird tee shot, one with a weird landing area off that, and then the green is by far the hardest green in Nashville to hit into. Especially if you miss it, you got a tight chip to about a 10 feet wide green, narrow water on the left. So yeah, that one. And there's a lot of holes at Nashville Golf and Athletic Club that are not my favorite.
Yep.
Great place,
The
great
first hole
facility.
in general.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Definitely the most common answer. First hole in GAC. I haven't played it yet, but I know plenty of folks that it's a wake up call every time they step on the course and they're ready to play. It's a tough way to
Yeah.
start.
Tough. Yeah.
And
Tough
even
first
Scotty
shot.
has struggled there before.
Yeah.
Mhm. And then last thing is, is there certain types of games or practice modes there at Top Golf
Yeah.
that you would encourage if you're going there?
Yeah, they've changed over the years for sure. There is a game right now called Shot Shuffle. So that's going to be the most like target oriented game where it's telling you to hit at specific target 3 times in a row. You could pick either the near, far, middle targets or all the targets. And then my two favorite games are the virtual golf courses. So you could play, 18 holes at Pebble, St. Andrew, Spyglass, and Spanish Bay,
Oh,
4 courses. And I've heard rumors we're getting more courses, so hopefully soon on there. And then there's closest to the pin, which is 9 different shots on Pebble or Kiowa that you hit 9 different yardages and play closest to the pin. So it takes like your accumulative feet over those 9 shots and gives you penalties if you hit it in the bunker, the rough, or the sand, or a penalty area. It'll add feet onto your score. So that's a fun one, and I've
gotcha.
done in the past. I don't know if you've seen on my socials. I just did a virtual tournament last Wednesday, and I do those kind of once in a while. But I had 60 people out playing the virtual courses, doing like a 4-man best ball. So it's definitely fun to do that. I'm a big fan of virtual golf and indoor golf. I joined myself over at 5 Iron downtown. So I think it's a great way to get out and have some fun when you can't do it out in the sun.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, sounds like you got everything you need right there.
Yeah.
Plenty of ways to challenge yourself, plenty of ways to get feedback, data, essentially everything that you need. Well, wonderful. Thanks for coming on to the podcast. We got some good insight into kind of your philosophy, how you go about coaching and teaching, kind of where you've come from, and kind of where you're heading. Is there anything coming up in 2026 that you're really excited about in the golf world, personal world, whatever it might be?
Yeah, I'm excited to I'm finally me personally back into some good shape physically. So I feel a lot more confident in
Awesome.
my own golf game, which I think is important for everybody to
Mm.
be in good shape regardless. So playing in some golf tournaments coming up. I'm excited for the golf season. I'm excited for hopefully Tiger Woods maybe to play some golf. I'm a diehard Tiger fan
Nice.
at heart.
Mm.
So I get very excited for Tiger to play. Kind of changes my whole week if Tiger's playing. I won't lie. My mood is definitely directed by Tiger. If he's playing good, I'm like the happiest guy in the world. If Tiger's playing bad, you might not want to take a lesson from me. Plays in the Masters that
I
week.
see.
So I'm excited to go to the Masters in a couple weeks. That's going to be
Awesome.
fun. Going back there, and yeah, just excited for a good year overall.
Excellent. Yeah, very good. Well, excited for you to see that. You might need to pick a backup golfer. Maybe just go with Scotty so that you can give some good lessons out.
Yeah,
But either way, Matthew, thanks for coming on the podcast. We'll
yeah.
get this put up, and folks will be able to make sure to put your information in the description, and folks will know how to reach out.
Yeah, thanks for having me.